Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Tuesday, 16th of May. Decent enough morning, some decent volatility. Those of you who are on the Zoom this morning were you heard me talk about this point of control level on the DAX. Looking to trade that. Also a little bit of a stop run below that low. Managed to hold that level and push all the way up. I got out of the weekly point of control, rallied up towards the value area highs for the week, and we're kind of middle of that range. Not worth it at this joint. So a nice little start to the day after the claimant count, which you already went through this morning. Yeah, nice moves for those of you who weren't on the Zoom this morning. Decent moves came out of that. Stronger, also higher, not stronger. Stronger unemployment is definitely weaker jobs data. So yeah, weaker jobs data here. We're expecting 31,000 new unemployment or job seekers allowance signups this month. Got what 50% higher than that, 46,000. So that wasn't received particularly well at 7 o'clock by the pound pairs. If you have a look at the pound against the dollar from 7, we saw this big acceleration to the downside. So a nice little trade on that one there. My focus in terms of data was looking through the Zoom number. I mean, it wasn't a big beat or a miss anyway. It was only about 5 worse than forecast, so it wasn't a huge figure. But this is often a leaked number for those of you who aren't aware. So one worth avoiding trading, in my opinion. I was focusing a little bit more on the retail sales, which again weren't significant enough to move. This is basically in line on core retail sales, but we did get a decent CPI print out of the Canadian dollar. And this has led to a slight spike in the market since then. Looking at the CAD yen was one that I know some of the guys in here have got on, and yeah, this big move up from 130 when that data came out, starting to run into a little bit of headwinds as we approach the open. But yeah, another nice news trade on that. But the other trade I took today, having not taken this one, was the earnings. So we had earnings from Home Depot today. Due out originally, they were due out this time next week on 11 o'clock UK time on the 23rd, but they've been moved forward to today. I know we kind of chucked it on the discussion group ahead of time, so hopefully a few of you managed to pick up on that. Very clear to see from 10:50 through to 11 o'clock. Very big sell-off in stocks. Their actual earnings in terms of EPS revenues weren't horrendous. It was more the forward guidance for what they see for the quarters going forward. But yeah, we're looking in that first 10 minutes or so from pre-data release, we were down the best part of 6% on Home Depot, with Home Depot being a rather large chunk of the Dow Jones. Looking here, obviously we've got United Health Group as the big one, Goldman, Microsoft, which is obviously bigger elsewhere, McDonald's, which has overtaken it, I think, recently, Home Depot coming in as the fifth biggest component of the Dow, and nearly a 6% of the whole index. So always likely to be a big mover. And let me show you how big a move it was. And these things are incredibly easy to catch. I know we always talk about this with the earnings and the Dow movers being so kind to us as traders. But I mean, this might look tricky in terms of like a 5-minute move that was straight down, but it was. If I move to like, I don't know, let's have a look on like a 5-second chart, for example. I mean, I would never execute on a 5-second chart. This is just more to illustrate the entries that you can get in here. I mean, this is consistent price action, right? In those first 5 seconds, even if you're late, you can still get in after 10, still get in after 15. You don't have to be the fastest finger in the West to get short at good prices on these, or get long indeed on good trade on good prices on these data releases. These tend to be, yeah, very nice catchable price action moves. And once again, this paid out nicely in the Dow from 11 o'clock until 11:05, or not even till 11:02. We had over 100 ticks in a very straight line. So a nice, easy one to catch. I managed to get about 80 ticks out of that myself. Not too bad for 11 o'clock in the morning on the Dow Jones. So what am I looking for this afternoon? Well, we have a little bit of news out in terms of Fed speakers, and I've got a couple of guys out later. Your Goolsbee and Williams are speaking. I think Barr's out. Yeah, Barr's out at 3 o'clock. He might move the market a little bit more. We also have the ECB president Lagarde speaking at 3, albeit this is just an awards ceremony. So how much will go into monetary policy remains to be seen. I probably you asked me to put a gun to my head, I doubt she'd say much. That doesn't mean I won't be paying attention. But yes, you might well see some volatility from these speakers. Quite a lot of speakers this week, not too much in terms of actual hard numbers data. Tomorrow's another pretty damp squib unless you're over in Australia. But we do have more speakers throughout the week, obviously culminating with the big man, Superman Powell, out a little bit late for my liking, 4 o'clock on Friday. But there we go. That's probably the biggest one of the week. What he has to say. Lagarde making it even more tricky for us to hold things over the weekend, if indeed we wanted to, at 8 o'clock on Friday. So what's my plan for the day ahead? Well, there's not too much in terms of hard data. As I say, we've got a few speakers that I'll be paying attention to. Where are we placed in markets currently? S&P 500, we're sat right on the yearly point of control. So if I shut this down a little bit, you'll see this point of control here for the year. This is the price at which the most trades have occurred all year on the S&P 500, and we are sat right at it. We traded around this quite nicely yesterday. If I bring you back to the short-term moves in here, this weekly, well, my monthly point of control in yellow, but you see this white dotted line is the yearly point of control. You can see how nicely we traded around these value area levels. I'll turn off my weekly one today. Just to kind of give you a little bit more friendliness on the chart. We have a breakdown for the point of control. Tried to go. We had some news out about Microsoft being permitted to take over Activision yesterday from EU regulators, and that switched the whole thing. Microsoft is a huge component of the S&P, the Nasdaq, and the Dow. So the whole US stock market's turned on a head on this news. We went back above this, retested from above. Rallied up to another point of high liquidity, back to high liquidity at the point of control. This level is so important. The 8 o'clock open in Europe, where were we? We were bang at this 23s again. Haven't managed to quite get the same gusto, so it does look like we're running out of steam a little bit in terms of structure. But what I'd be kind of hoping to see is a significant time spent below this price, and maybe go back and retest it for a potential short later on in the day. We shall see. I am looking to get short. If you look at the longer term pictures on here, we are looking at I'm going to take some of these off. We are looking at the profile. You can see there's a lot of trade being done at this price. That's why we have the point of control here. But there's a lot of trade done here, which is the previous point of control until recently, and very little trade done between those two figures. So I think if we do manage to get a sell-off from this level, there's a good chance you can see the best part of 120, 150 ticks downside, 130 ticks or so downside to that point of control. Often when you get these value area shifts as well, it moves to the value area low, which would give you an extra 20 or 30 on top. So that's something that I'm eyeing up this week. Yeah, perhaps, I mean, with option expiry on Friday, don't forget that's obviously one of the hardest days to trade, one of the jumpier days. Again, a very, very interesting one as we enter next week after those hedges expire come Friday. So let's have a look at the open. This is obviously the ES contract, S&P mini contract, and we can start to see the action taking place for the open. I'd be interested to see what happens with the Dow. Obviously, with maybe let's toggle away from this because there's no huge orders in here. Particularly, might be some interest around 30s. Otherwise, you're getting up towards these round numbers and half round numbers. The 4150 is always going to have some big orders in there, and if we get down to 4100, you can see there's plenty sitting here to 337 of them that they're waiting for us, but there's a bit to get through if we wanted to get down there. Today we shall see. My bias certainly for the next 2 weeks is down, but I don't want to kind of jump the gun. Timing is always tricky. So back to the Dow. Let's see how that's performed on the open, because this can often be a volatile one with the Home Depot numbers coming through. And again, you can see these spread trades that you can do between things like the Nasdaq, which have shot up, and the weakness because of Home Depot's earnings. The first time any physical selling of Home Depot stocks can happen at the open, and this can kind of weigh heavily on the buying asset. Home Depot stocks themselves are already off a smidge since the open, but it is still coming off further. The Dow Jones starting to, that's the Dow Jones in isolation, but you are starting to see the Dow very weak. Nas pretty strong. These spread trades are another way of looking at it. And where are we on the S&P? We are still stuck bang on the 41 or 123s. A big level you want to be paying attention to over the course of the next week, or 123 level or whatever. And if you are trading the futures, you'll be looking at that price slightly differently. As where are we? 4139. yeah, not a huge amount of action on the opens, I would say, for the S&P. I feel like I've picked the wrong horse to focus on there. The Nasdaq was much more exciting, as you can see here. This raft of buying that came through at 4:30. Very, very clear price action there. You can't really argue too much with that. Very little being given back before we push higher and higher once more. I can see if we can get anything back in terms of the where are we? What I'm looking for. See if I can find the gamma. I know the gamma hasn't been where I've only been back in the office a day and a half, so trying to find the feeds for the gamma aren't which were working well before I left. Don't seem to be working quite so well. Oh no, they are back. So we've got large gamma at 4125 today. There might be some interest at 4145. This website I've been through before, mouth breathing, speak, is really, really good to see the change in gamma. So if this is getting higher, this is more calls than puts. This is telling you where we have the most puts, obviously at 4125, which basically is where we are, right? 4123. So yeah, this is likely to be a price that's traded at quite a bit today, as we would have expected anyway, just from the volume, never mind the gamma. But perhaps this, a lot of calls at 41.45, so maybe there'll be a little opportunity for some higher moves. Let's see if we can continue to get that buying coming through on the gamma itself. Yeah, this mouth breathing Fed speak, if you go to GX, really, really handy for understanding the gamma, and we are seeing that continued increase in calls. See what that means for the S&P is managing to get some buyers going through. It is being supported on the open, bang on that winner control. Textbook move really on the open, grab the liquidity at high area, push off in direction of high liquidity for the option. So yeah, Nasdaq been incredible on the open. If you picked up a spread trade long Nas short Dow, you'd be sitting incredibly today. So yeah, that'll do for me today. Try and pay attention. We do have some bigger news out with the debt ceiling from 8 o'clock tonight as well. So perhaps, I mean, it's a bit late in the day for me, but I know a few of the guys in the office are coming back for that one at 8 o'clock tonight. So yeah, do be aware there could be some big moves in the market later on this evening. So trade smart, and we'll be back with you in the morning. I think Neil's back at 7:50. Catch you then.